Good evening. It is 6 p.m. This is the regular business meeting of the Sandwich School Committee of January 7th, 2026. We will begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome back and Happy New Year. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and broadcast via live stream by Sandwich Community Television at www.sandwichtv.org and also Community Television Channel 8, and is also being audio recorded by the Sandwich Enterprise. Correct? Okay. Okay, with that, first item of the evening is our public forum. Would anybody like to come forward for public forum? Seeing none. Moving on. Donations.
Good evening, everybody. You have in your packet a generous donation from Stop and Shop for the amount of $78 that has been given to the Sandwich Partnership for Families, which is part of the Sandwich Public Schools, for their community bag program. So this is a donation that goes toward families that participate in the Sandwich Partnership.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the donation to the Sandwich Partnership for Families as presented. Second.
Motion by Ms. Bonetta, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. Pass with appreciation. Thank you very much to Stop and Shop. Let me just do the admin part. There you go. Next up is review and act on meeting minutes. First up is the executive session meeting minutes of our executive session of December 10th, 2025. Give you a moment to review, make sure there's, and when ready, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Miller, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. If everyone could pass those back to me, please. Next up is our regular business, the minutes of our regular business meeting dated December 10th, 2025.
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular minutes from 12/10/25 as presented. Second.
Motion by Ms. Bonetta, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Did you vote, Alexis? We'll try that again. All in favor? We had an inadvertent abstention. That passes 6-0. Thank you very much. And next up is correspondence and announcements. Does anyone have anything?
I have something, actually, which I'm really, really pleased to announce. So we received notification yesterday that at Monday evening's commission meeting of the CPC, or the Conservation Preservation Commission, our application to go forward with the replacement of the tennis courts at Sandwich Middle High School was unanimously approved. So we have two more roadblocks, one being the select board and the second one at town meeting. But it's a great sign that our application was approved, and really want to, particularly thank all of you, but particularly Kevin and Danielle for kind of spurring me, particularly during the joint conference, like, oh my God, the deadline's in 48 hours. But really, really pleased to see this to fruition. So,
well, I'll call them procedural steps, vice roadblocks. But
yeah,
thank you for your efforts on that. I think it's most importantly, it's a great thing for our kids. It's a great thing for our school, and hopefully it is received in that same light by the select board and town meeting. But we'll see how it goes.
And it's a great thing for our community because there's a lot of community use in the off hours as well. So thank you.
And the vision is, just so you know, in the application that we now have 6 tennis courts, but the vision would be also a little combination of some pickleball courts as well.
Either for PE or if that ever becomes, I can't believe I'm saying this, an MIA sport.
Yeah.
The AD's nodding his head, it's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the only, go ahead. Did you have something? I will just also announce, it was shared with the Oak Ridge families. I'm not sure if it was, but we're going to see her later tonight, is the new principal of the Oak Ridge School, Dr. Anna Dunphy. Congratulations, and hopefully that slightly bigger chair is fitting just right, and then we'll get the kids back to school. So congratulations. Next up is superintendent's update.
Okay, so the first thing that we have in the update is a presentation on something that we've implemented this year. It's a new program for our youngest learners, particularly grades K through 3. It is known as UFly, which stands for the University of Florida Literacy Institute. And essentially, it is a supplemental tool that our classroom teachers are using to explicitly teach phonics and phonemic awareness. I've asked Dr. Quinn to kind of give a brief overview of the program, but also another data point is we've also been implementing a screener 3 times a year known as the Early Bird Screener, which is another data point that shows how well our students are learning that foundation of literacy, but it's also a mandated piece, as now the state is mandating that we have to, for these students, screen for dyslexia. So Dave, if you could give a overview of what some of these changes are and what it looks like.
Sure, and just want to say that Jen Kirk was instrumental in putting together this presentation. She's forgotten more about reading instruction than I'll probably ever know. We're also really fortunate to have such a deep bench of literacy specialists, both from our reading coaches, Amy Baxter, Lynn Finney, Shannon Bayshard, and then our interventionists, Jen Kenny, Chrissy Trombley, Jackie Harrington, Becca Stock, and then our team. So our students, I want to stress here, are well supported regardless of the outcome from the literacy screening. So just to kind of provide a little bit of background, in July of 23, the state passed legislation requiring that all students in grades kindergarten through 3 participate in a early literacy screener that must be approved by DESE at least twice a year for our kindergarten students, and then 3 times a year that we do it for our grade 1, 2, and 3 students. It's all of the screeners are research-based, with appropriate benchmarks for where students should be, and that those reports are communicated to the family when there's a cause for need, and that this is something that's part of the general education experience, not just something that is, oh, we think there might be a concern here. We want to make sure that we're sifting well in order to catch everybody who may need it. And again, just the rationale. They're predictable and preventative. There's a lot of research based that show that particularly intervention in K1 can make significant impacts on the long-term trajectory for students. And that we're not just playing, a guessing game here, that we're using evidence-based strategies, evidence-based tools to drive the decisions that we're making and the interventions that we're doing. So a couple things just on what screening is and what it's not. It's an identification of risk. It's helping us to drive instructional tools to individualize it and with small groups. And it's part of a prevention-oriented system. What it's not is it's not a medical diagnosis. And while the screener that we use was developed in conjunction with Boston Children's, we're not going to be able to tell a family whether or not a child has dyslexia. That is a medical diagnosis. It's not a special education determination, and it's not a substitution for a comprehensive evaluation. This is just helping us to flag students who may have needs. And then, so our responsibility, so when students score significantly below the benchmarks, we provide differentiated or supplemented instruction, first starting in the classroom, but then also with our literacy intervention team, that we're able to progress monitor over the course of a year and then years beyond with our data platforms, and then just adjust the instruction within the general education classroom, and that's where that UFly piece comes in. And then, as we've kind of stressed in our strategic plan, a key component of this is ensuring that the results that we get from our early bird screener get communicated to families within 30 days so that they're aware that they can provide supplemental supports if they choose to, and that we're communicating the instructional response or how we're responding to this, and then offer family the chance for a follow-up discussion in case there are questions, and then just to serve, like in that last piece, as a partner in the child's education. So this is continuing that outreach piece. Yes, sir.
Quick question. The 30 days, I guess my question is, in practice, how long is it taking us to notify families? If it was my kid, I'd want to know sooner than 30 days is all.
It's typically within a week. The nice thing that's about this is that it's all digitized. So we'll have the results rapidly within the testing window. So as Mr. Dentino says, there's about a week turnaround in terms of notification.
Okay, you know where I'm getting at. If I wouldn't want to wait a month to find out or to start doing whatever we need to be doing. Just weren't like that was, and I probably inarticulate when I asked. I was wondering if that number comes from somewhere else, and what is our practice is really maybe a better way to ask it. So we're within a week. Okay.
Yes.
So if we do have a student who, is flagged for at risk, do we offer the parents additional testing, or do the parents need to request that if they were wanting to get accommodations or services for the
Yeah,
child?
so I think that this is outside of the scope of the special education process. This is specifically for just reading instruction as a tier 1 support. And again, just I think this is just a recap of the slides we said earlier. It's all students are assessed, so this is a universal piece. Risks are identified early, instruction responds quickly, and so and that the schools are acting proactively. So what does this look like kind of in practice? So it's kind of like a multi-pronged tool, and I would say in a really nice conversation with Amy Baxter here, the two things that we're going to talk about are core drivers of I would call a suite of resources that students have and teachers have to help with supplemental literacy instruction. So the first kind of with the screener portion is the Early Bird Screener. It's a game-based type screener that meets all the criteria. So it assesses for alphabetic knowledge, phonemic awareness, comprehension, and also records the student while it's speaking. And then the results are then provided in dashboard format by indicator to the teacher, and then can be shared with the families. It also comes with a suite of resources that we can use for follow-up for targeted instruction, and it's really quick to administer. It doesn't take a ton of time out of the school day, but we get the information that we need as a result of that. But on the day-to-day pieces, Dr. Marushik talked about was the UFly, which was developed at the University of Florida Literacy Institute. It's a research-based systematic program that provides a daily reading instruction. It's typically a 2-day lesson. It's about 8 parts, and it takes about 30 minutes, give or take. With kids, it can sometimes take a little bit longer, but it provides a lot of opportunity for practice. So the first part of it is more of just practice, review, skills, drills, and then the fifth part of the component is a specific instruction from the teacher with opportunities to practice and dig deeper into the concept. And again, what it ensures is it's the fundamentals. I was thinking as I was preparing for this, teaching basketball, right? So it's teaching your pivot move. It's teaching your follow-through motion. It's teaching all the little incremental pieces that are essential. So that way it's not by chance or just by osmosis that the student learns these specific skills. And so, again, it's a 2-day type lesson, lots of opportunities to practice, and it's a supplemental tool to our ARC reading curriculum. The other nice thing about UFly is it's got a now AI component that allows teachers to upload assessments for students and then get small group targeted protocols for them moving forward. So I think we're really excited about that, what that's offered. It really complements ARC well. But I also think we have a suite of other resources, including the Words Their Way benchmark assessments. We have Lexia, which is another supplemental reading instructional tool, and not to mention that just the ERLA that comes with our ARC. So we're really well supported just in the general classroom, but also we have, you know, a bevy of resources and expertise for those students who do need more targeted support.
How much of an impact has screen use from the time these kids can train their eyes on a screen on what is seen in these assessments? That's number one. And number two, can you give some examples about specific resources or working with parents around whatever it is they're doing in these 30-minute sessions?
So in terms of screen use, would you mind, so is the question is like the screen use impacting the diagnostic?
5 years ago, if you administered these tools, you would have seen a profile. Now, screen use by the youngest of children is ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
Constant.
Yes.
In many cases. How has early reading been impacted by increased use of screens by little ones?
Oh, gosh.
In your observation.
So I would say that the reading community has very differing views on that piece of it. In one respect, it's given a lot of opportunities for access to students to practice and engage in ways they may not have been able to and get feedback at home. So I'm just thinking for like Alexia for the sake of example. If a student is struggling reading, I'm just sitting there, I don't have any opportunity to get feedback on whether or not I'm right or wrong. On the other hand, we know that the use of screens does have some sort of cognitive impact on the brain, and that we know specifically from research that reading on a screen is a fundamentally different experience than reading on paper. So what we have to do, and I think what UFly does really well as a complementary, which is not screen-based necessarily, it's a lot of hands-on writing. If you go into a classroom and see it on whiteboards, is they strike the balance between the two. So we give the students the best of both worlds. So I think, like anything else, as I'm sure you've done from research, there's both affordances and limitations, and we've got to be mindful of side effects. In terms of the second part, in terms of families,
Just what specific resources available for parents and guardians around how they can work with their children as they're experiencing this enrichment, if in fact a student is in those classes?
yeah, so I think, go ahead, Joe.
UFly actually has a terrific family supplemental toolbox, so to speak. I know it's later in the agenda where I have my mid-cycle progress report, and actually one of my goals, my student learning goal, is around UFly implementation. And one of the evidence pieces in there was about communication, and I do have to give a lot of credit to Chris and his staff. They've done an outstanding job pushing out to parents different links, like in the weekly newsletter, to the whole UFly parent toolbox of different things that you can practice. So if I am, say, I don't know, I'm in Mrs. DeAngelis's, my son is in Mrs. DeAngelis's class, and they're working on diphthong combinations and different words and different blendings. They actually have tools that parents, stories parents could read at home that hit those key concepts as well.
I will say that I've kind of been following this with my granddaughter who's in New York, and she was flagged last year as a kindergartner. 2 days a week, 30-minute sessions, lots of things for parents to do. Now she's in first grade, she's exceeding all expectations. So for that particular instance, it was enough to jumpstart whatever was needed.
And in your particular granddaughter's place, the other supplemental resources that we have, like Alexia, for example, would allow them to continue on with their progress, meet them where they are.
It's really exciting. That's great.
New year, but some things don't change. Dr. Miller asks much more intelligent questions than I do.
I just had a quick question. At some point, could you present with us some data
Yes. So-
of
To kind of give you where we are in the
where
cycle.
we are?
So the first round of testing is completed for all students in grades K through 3. Kindergarten students were assessed mid-December-ish. The next round of assessments for students in grades 1 and 2 will be at the end of January, and I don't quite have the dates for Oak Ridge, but I'm sure they're around the same time. All right, we'll be happy to provide that data.
It's a good one.
This might be a follow-up on what Alexis was asking. So being that it's not a special ed determination, is there a certain threshold when it turns into this becomes special ed and it's?
So this would never become a special ed single determinant. It's just an indication of, it would be part of like a whole host of data points that would be part of that whole process.
You would then use, okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Not to run away.
None? Now you can go.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Next up is the FY26 budget update. Ms. Austin.
Yep. We have the November report in front of you tonight. We'll just have a quick overview. Pretty much everything's in good shape, which is good to know. Just a few areas that I'm keeping my eye on are special ed tuitions. We've had like additional placements this year, but we will be able to cover them with the extra circuit breaker that we have, so it won't be any kind of problem. Also, the utilities, we're definitely going to be going over an electric and gas at the high school. And then we're going to keep a close eye on Oak Ridge, because now that they have their new AC units, we'll be probably going over an electric this year too. So Mr. Ryan is now keeping kilowatt hour spreadsheets.
Doing a great job at it.
Yeah, so we'll be in good shape going forward, anticipating our electric and gas usage. So that's about the only areas that I have any concern with. Do any of you have any questions?
Not yet?
Oh, okay.
No. See how the winter goes, temperature-wise. Any specific questions on this? I'm good. All right.
Okay.
That was easy. Yep. Anything else that? Okay. Old business, other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. And here comes the fun, ladies and gentlemen. New business, the FY27 budget presentation.
All right.
There's your lead in.
I feel like we should have introductory music or something.
It's a partay. This is my 15th budget I've presented. How exciting, isn't it? Okay. So I shared with you yesterday, and you have a hard copy in front of you, what we have as far as an initial look at our budget for the 26-27 school year, or fiscal year 2027. I had the opportunity, unfortunately, as you know, in early December, I had a family matter, but I was able to watch the video of the tri-board meeting, which I missed, and I heard Bud talking about the challenges of healthcare insurance and how, we were kind of have to batten down the hatches, but I think he used the term a vanilla budget, like we're just going to have the basics. With that theme, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that this is a vanilla budget, but I think it is a modest, conservative budget that very much takes into account the challenges that we have with an upwards of about a 15% increase in health care insurance. However, I do think the big picture of what I'll share with you tonight really maintains our forward momentum. And I'm proud of the members of our district leadership team and also our finance subcommittee that really were instrumental in shaping this and putting forward this vision that I'm about to share. So I think we discussed this in November. I'm a big believer that any operational budget should be goal-oriented in nature. So we have 4 goals of this budget. First and foremost, to provide a level services budget. That means basically keeping the quality of the programs and services that we have in place for our students, being mindful of inflationary costs. Second, the reason that we put time and energy and resources into a district strategic plan is so that we have a vision and goals that anchor us. I'm also confident that we're successful in that goal in what's being put forward tonight. As always, I think, again, trying to hit away at capital investments of many, many facility needs that we have across our 3 buildings. We've got some targeted investments again in this budget. And then last but not least, I always call this the perpetual goal of finding efficiencies where we can. I'm pleased that we have found some efficiencies that's helping us make this budget manageable. So first and foremost, we always take a look at how many students we have, what is our enrollment. During the holiday break, we always receive a document, which I'm happy to share with you, from an organization called NESDEC, the New England Staff Development Council, that does our enrollment projections over the next 10 years. And they're usually fairly accurate within, a factor of give or take 5%. As you can see, our official October 1st enrollment is 2,111. NESDEC is projecting 2,102. And a lot of those numbers are very solid. There's really only 2 numbers where there's variability. It is the number of enrolling kindergarteners. And we've pretty much been right around that 160 mark over the last 3 or 4 years. And then the big question mark is attrition and the transition from 8th to 9th grade. If you take a look, and I know I've showed this slide before, this is just the updated piece. This shows K through 12. It doesn't have our pre-K. You can see, going back 10 years, there's been a loss of approximately 24% in our district as far as enrollment. That is not unique to Sandwich. That is not unique to the Cape or even Massachusetts. But as you can see, over the last 4 years or so, there has been, a slight decline, but overall a stabilization. And as NESDEC has been telling us over the last 2 or 3 years, projecting out and looking at things like birth rates, migration rates, real estate sales, and so on, it is predicting a relative stability over the next 10 years or so. So as we've discussed, and I think I usually share these data around the start of the school year, right around the time that we have our official October 1st enrollment numbers, we've still maintained, in my humble opinion, very reasonable class sizes across our district. We try to have coherency with regard to at early elementary, at Forestdale, having the smallest class sizes, expanding as the kids progress through upper elementary and then progressing to middle school. As I say in the budget document, there is variability at the high school with regard to content area, departments, and various grade levels. So we generally look at the pre-K through 8, but again, in my opinion, these are very, very favorable class sizes that really are favorable towards, attention, individualized attention to students' needs. So what you have before you as far as the FY27 budget proposal is a proposal for $42,046,131, which is a 2.22% increase from our current year's operational budget. It will maintain level services, and again, looking at the key strategic objectives of our new strategic plan around that foundational literacy and numeracy, social emotional learning, and innovative practices continue the forward momentum. I'll say a little bit more about staffing, but in making things balance, usually by this time of the year, we do have some retirements. You make strategic decisions about what I need to replace, what is the savings on the replacement, or is there non-replacement, and so on. And that kind of fits in with the whole right-sizing piece. And again, where we find deficiencies, we continue to reinvest in some capital expenditures. Again, we have that same $200,000 investment to continue the flooring project at both Forestdale and Oak Ridge. So I believe if you look at the budget summary page in the document, which is on page 4, again, we're extremely early in this process, and the town very conservatively estimates Chapter 70 to be flat. So you can see the allocation of $8,063,976 is the same for this current fiscal year. And to make the budget work with an increase of $911,655, you're talking about a contribution, local contribution of $33,982,155, which translates to a 2.76% increase in the local contribution. So as always, there's both on the plus and the minus as far as expenditures of things that drive the budget. The biggest one, in 75%, roughly 3/4 of our budget is in our people, is in our salaries. So we will be in the third year of 3-year contracts with all of our collective bargaining units. The teachers, just like this current year, are receiving a cost of living adjustment of 3.25%. For our other associations, specifically custodians, admin assistants, and paraeducators, we are varying on the steps in the ballpark of about a $1.50 to $2 an hour range as far as adjustment. So when you take all of these, including steps and lane increases, you're talking a little more than $1,021,170, which is a 3.21% increase overall. That takes into account some of the replacements and non-replacements of retirees and so on. Special education also is a driver. The largest, and I think this was alluded to just by Michelle, in looking at not only the annual increase in out-of-district tuitions as far as a percentage, but also 2 additional out-of-district placements. That corresponds to an additional about $214,000 in the special education tuition line. A lot of our expense lines, as you'll see, are completely level funded, or there's actually decreases. Technology is essentially level funded. Next week, our new technology director, Mike Falcone, will describe some of the investments. Again, we have an annual investment for replacing student Chromebooks. So there's investment about $200,000. And then one of the jobs that he has found in his first 2 or 3 weeks on the job is that we have dated wireless access points both at the middle high school and Oak Ridge. That's a lot of access points. We have outstanding coverage, and he shared with me that that is a real important project for the simple reason that as of December 31st, there's no longer manufacturer support for when the wireless access points go south. We also have kind of a counterbalance, a decrease in some of our curriculum software lines, and almost by a factor of $247. It's kind of being replaced for our software fee for Parent Square, for both the website and also the app support. Buildings and grounds, couple expenses there. Again, that third year of an investment of $200,000, as I said, for the flooring, for Oak Ridge and Forestdale. And then, as Michelle alluded to, we've made an adjustment in utilities. Really, it's kind of a twofold thing. I know that that is a very large jump in 1 year. And when I initially saw that, and I had a conversation first with Michael and then with Michelle, it was like, whoa, what's the deal with this? It's really twofold, to be very honest. I think FY26 is under budgeted. But then also, and I know I'm seeing this at home as well, some of the increases in electricity delivery fee have also been fairly significant. So our projection of that increase of $158,000 is warranted in our opinion. In transportation, literally got the report a very short while ago during break, and at our next meeting we'll discuss it in depth, but we had the transportation efficiency study done, and a lot of the data that came back was very interesting, and you'll see a table that has our student scheduling rates per bus and actual student ridership rates per bus. And the consultant who did it said, your scheduling's really low, and guess what? Your ridership is really, really low. So the conclusion is to the consolidation of at least a couple bus routes. So that's why you see that savings there in transportation. You know, I would say that's a key efficiency. And then also an increase in 65,000. There's nothing in fixed assets this year. This is for kind of a commercial utility van for the facilities department. What they've been using is a lot of times the special education vans once they've been decommissioned for students. So as a result, I think one of the vans has something like 350,000 miles on it. Maybe time for replacement.
Can I ask a quick question there?
Certainly.
Really, probably more for Michelle. I've always had this, well, I won't say always, I had this notional idea that like a bus was $100,000 a year, but if I'm doing the rough math here, it's really more about 140 per bus. Is that right?
All of that is not the efficiency. We get about an $85,000 to $90,000 credit per bus with the efficiency. A lot of that is also 26 was an estimate because the contract had been renegotiated.
Right.
27 is an actual number.
Okay,
So there is a savings there.
got it. Thank you.
Teaching and learning actually has a slight decrease of a little more than $9,000. Some of this is Dave kind of and Jen Kirk really doing an outstanding job in pursuing competitive grant funds that can pick up the cost of some curriculum materials, but also just kind of reevaluating, particularly some of the curriculum software, like, gee, are we really getting a lot of bang for our buck here, and so on. Athletics, Sean will be discussing this a little bit later. Essentially, it's level funded. There is a decrease of about $20,000 in athletic transportation due to our move back into the Cape and Islands League. And it kind of represents right-sizing that line. I also made the decision, Michelle and I had a conversation to explicitly show how much the budget is being lowered by through user fees and gate receipts. So you'll see that in red explicitly. I know before my tenure here, there was kind of a debate between my predecessor and the previous school committee whether that should be represented or not. I felt that was important to represent, particularly in light of the modest change that was made in user fees going back, I think it was last spring, last summer. So realize that modest fee represents an additional about almost $60,000 that's charged against our coaches line. So that's helpful. And then district-wide expenses, just kind of looking in the aggregate, it's in each school's budget, and that's just something that we essentially control, an increase of a little bit more than $17,000. That's all inclusive of copiers, ink, toner, paper, and so on. So those are really the key pieces. If you look again at page 4, it's pretty straightforward as far as the expense side. Our overall salaries are up $1,021,170, which is 3.31%. And then our overall expenses, it's actually a slight decrease of a little bit more than 1% by $109,495. So we kind of go back to...
Can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Custodial maintenance.
So that's an interesting piece. Like, no, we're not plummeting. Realize there was $323,000 added to the budget.
The Chapter 70?
Yeah.
The additional Chapter 70.
Exactly.
So you have to add it as an additional appropriation, which becomes part of the 26 budget. That's why it looks like a decrease until we get an additional appropriation for 27.
And that went specifically towards the boiler project.
Yeah.
And now this is representing that's being subsumed into the entire budget. Good question. So I kind of go...
Sue. Of course you did.
So I go back to our strategic plan that we finalized, I think, and this committee voted upon just in September, and essentially the 4 overall goals or 4 strategic objectives. The first one around teaching and learning, ensuring that we've provided a standards-based curriculum to meet all of our kids' needs. The second one, ensuring that we have supports to meet all students' academic, behavioral, and social emotional needs. The third one, really around what are we doing to create greater connections between our students and the community, and connections between all three schools, not only for students, but for staff. And then the last piece around facilities. What are we doing, again, to have a comprehensive capital and operation plans? I anticipate getting the facilities condition assessment within the next couple of weeks. Habib and Associates is on target to do that. And again, I think this level service budget moves the ball down the field as far as in all four of these areas. You know, again, I do think that this coming fiscal year is going to be a challenge. I clipped this because this was on the cover of the Boston Globe on Monday. I put a link to it actually in the budget document in my letter. There's some school districts across the Commonwealth that are looking at a 40% increase in healthcare insurance, particularly regional school districts. That's devastating. That means layoffs like you cannot believe. So I think a piece here, not that I'm like saying, yay, 15%, but I do have to agree with Bud when he talks about the town being very, very well managed. I will also take a look at my colleague to my left, and I think the school district's finances are well managed in that we're managing everything to still meet the goals of our strategic plan in very, very challenging financial conditions. You know, when push comes to shove, I think about the student experience, and I think about the things that we want for our kids. And for a small school district, what we offer our kids, not only the academics, a rigorous academic program of studies, but also the social emotional pieces, to really instill what we want for all of our kids, a sense of belonging, a sense of connection, while they're getting that foundation in literacy and numeracy, but then as it transitions to even more deeper learning opportunities. So I think we have a lot to be proud of. I mean, I know I consider myself blessed to be working with people that kind of always want to take it to the next level and to go deeper. But sometimes when you step back, you know, a good chunk of my holiday break was, you know, on my laptop obsessing on Canva and making a pretty budget document. But I have the opportunity to take a look at some of these pictures and represent what's happening in our district each and every single day by remarkable educators. So, yeah, maybe Bud's right, a little bit vanilla, but I think that this is a conservative, modest, but strong budget for your consideration. So that's kind of the big picture slosh through it all. I'm more than happy to answer any questions before we hear from our principals and Sean. Yeah. No. No, not at all. Sure, yeah. You know, we take a look at things like expenditures per pupil overall, teacher costs overall, administrative costs, and then operations and maintenance. And we could do this in the other 9 major categories as well. You know, there's things like special education, professional development, and so on. I would say Sandwich is probably in the middle of the pack when you take the full continuum. There's some, I would say expenditures, you know, we're in the middle, the high middle. What I've represented here is teachers' costs per pupil. We're actually the lowest of the Cape and the Islands. I do want to say, though, that that's probably changed because that does not represent 24, 25 and moving forward. And in the negotiations process, our negotiations subcommittee did a lot of significant benchmarking and to see where we are, and hence we've got some of the adjustments in cost of living and so on. So I do think taking a look at that data, which is in the budget book, is helpful and gives you a relative perspective. By time I have a couple additional presentations probably within the next week. I'll also have some performance data. We also do very well with the state benchmarking of our alumni and how they do as far as college completion rates and also annual income. We're usually right at the top. So to your point, Sue, I think there's a lot of bang for the buck of what we get in the Sandwich Public Schools.
Okay. We'll get that down to the specific cost centers. First up, Mr. D. And Forestdale School.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Is it? I don't know if it's too late to say Happy New Year,
It's like the Larry David thing.
right? I don't know. So, presenting the Forestdale proposed FY27 operational budget. I'll try to be brief. It's really basic, but I just want to highlight some things. I look at a decrease in $500 from professional development in travel from the principal and assistant principal. A lot of that is just due to looking at the quality of what my assistant and myself want to participate in, and there's really limited opportunities. But also, I have to keep in mind when I put in my budget, I've got to look at contractual obligations for both my assistant and myself. So we've decreased that by $500. Just highlighting our general supplies. That's we're relatively level, but still we want targeted investments in classroom materials, positive messaging throughout the building for kids. Still having inclusive, flexible seating, sensory seating, things that make kids comfortable in the classroom, whether it's in our new sensory room or within our social work suite. So just maintaining the general supplies and making sure our staff has what they need for kids. We had a decrease of $800 in library books, but we kind of offset that because we have a really generous elementary PTA. So when we have our book fairs, we get scholastic dollars. So by decreasing the $800 we had for our inclusive family library, we were able to offset that by getting that $800 back through scholastic bucks, which we earn through our book fair that's happening, in February. And again, overall, our FY27 budget reflects a $1,500 reduction from FY26. Still is, Dr. Maruschek talked about with the district budget, preserving instructional quality, inclusivity, and, just the student supports that we want to give our students.
Questions? See, Dr. Miller.
Yeah.
I just have a question about the manipulatives. The kids get their own package of manipulatives. I'm just thinking flu season, and if there's a lot of sharing, do we?
They do. They generally have them in their desk, but yeah, they have them and they take them out, and they have different bins that they have in the room, and they go in their individual bins.
To their bins.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. No, that's important. Anything else?
Anything else? Just back to the library. I mean, and very thankful for all the terrific work the PTA does. They've done that in the past. You kind of have a expectation that that'll exist going forward into FY27 as well?
Yeah, as long as our book fairs do well and we have those Scholastic bucks available, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. And they're well attended. They do a great job. They come in, families come in during the day and at night to these book fairs to purchase books for their, their student.
It's been a couple years, but I remember them.
Sure, yeah, sure. But it's a big thing in our building, and certainly families will come in and join the classroom as they come in during the school day, but then they do have a night portion. Sometimes, they'll have an event to help bring those families in, and it's kind of a big thing for the kids to come out with a book.
Sure.
So the focus areas really of the operational budget, prioritizes on our general supplies. The majority of our learning is done with the hands-on learning. Yeah, there is some screen time, and I know Dr. Miller was talking about that with some of the assessments, especially with, Imagine Learning, which is basically they both. But yeah, I really try to look at that and make sure that there's not too much screen time for our kids, because we know they're getting a lot at home. And certainly we want them interacting with their peers and using manipulatives and when they're working in the small groups. Instructional materials, manipulatives, small groups, differentiation, we have to use durable, reusable resources that are consistent across the classrooms. We have 27 classrooms. 5 to 8-year-olds are not gentle with their materials. So there's a lot of times, that stuff needs to get replaced throughout the school year. The classrooms, they're designed intentionally from the start of the summer. We want to foster that family environment, They include calming corners, the expanded sensory room materials to support students' social emotional needs. And we know, and Dr. Ruszczyk talked about this in our strategic plan, that emotional regulation is built through connections with teachers. I think my staff does an amazing job building connections, and we talk about that. Take that extra time. Build relationships with your students. Kids don't want to disappoint people they like and respect. They won't. They'll go through the wall for them. Building relationships with the school community and enabling students to access, our curriculum, and that's going to drive our achievement. So a big thing that we talk about is the emotional regulation piece of our students to be able to support, the curriculum and attend. And this all aligns with our goals and our action plan and Dr. Maruszczyk in the district's strategic plan. Again, students who are emotionally regulated, they're going to fully access the instruction. And, they're going to attend to the ARC lessons, the U5 lessons, the Heggerty lessons, the iReady math. These relationships, so important. My staff is sick of hearing me say that, but it's just so important for kids to have those relationships with teachers and their peers. And that's going to drive, improve student achievement. The budget priorities align with, the district's strategic plan, the Forestdale initiatives of, what was presented in the fall, rigorous curriculum, and just the social emotional development of our young students. And this regulation, students' emotional regulation, paired with all the small group instruction that we do, it ensures that our students, they're going to succeed academically, they're going to succeed socially and emotionally. And again, I look at our building, we're the building block. We're building their academic foundation as they journey through the Sandwich Public Schools. And I believe that, and I love walking through our building and seeing the growth of our kids, especially when you talk about our kids coming in kindergarten and when they leave us in second grade, and just the different students they are, and they're ready for that next level. So that's really where I'm at. And, any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone?
Just a comment.
Sure.
Just thank you for always being so organized, and your presentations are always right on point and straight from the heart. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. There's not a lot of curveballs on this one. So, I'll just echo what Ms. Benetta said. Thank you for all you do and your entire team there, looking after our youngins. Thank you so much.
I'm blessed to have the staff I have, and I say that every day.
Third day in the new job, and welcome to the school committee, Dr. Anna Dunphy.
Good evening. If you don't mind me just taking a quick moment to just extend my sincere, heartfelt thanks to Dr. Moschak, who's been a tremendous support to me and to the entire school committee. I cannot tell you how honored I am to step into this new role. I love my school, and I just thank you to everyone here. So this is our proposed FY27 operational budget. I can say with confidence that my predecessor, Kevin Brajali, took level funded very seriously. And so you, again, will not see any surprises. But I can speak about our goals for the coming year, and that sticking to working with what we have, being efficient, very mindful of being good stewards of funding in our building is what we can do to make sure that all students succeed. There are a lot of parallels with what the school goals are, with the emphasis on the initiatives and the strategic plan. A couple of things that I just wanted to highlight. Quite a bit of the proposed budget is funding for classroom supplies and supplies for our specials classes. Those supplies are essential to making sure that our classrooms and our specials rooms are welcoming to students and that they have all of the resources that they need to thrive. Those are the consumables, things that students need on a daily basis. A couple of things in here is the emphasis on deeper learning and community connection. I think we've done an outstanding job and continue to focus on building community connection both with our families and the resources within Sandwich and the Cape at large, making sure that our curriculum is relevant to the students and that they can see the hands-on opportunities between what they're doing in the classroom and their community. Also making sure that we're thinking about how we're going to continue to refine opportunities for student support in curriculum and in social emotional learning. We have spent a lot of our emphasis this year in looking at those transitions between buildings. I think that I always love how uniquely positioned we are. I get to see students as they come in as freshly, newly minted third graders all the way up to sixth grade when they're ready to launch to the middle school. And we're continuing to build partnerships between the other buildings to make that as seamless as possible, make sure that students feel well supported, and it is just a real wonderful time for the staff to be part of that experience. And then lastly, just looking at our indoor and outdoor spaces for student and community use. Similar to what Chris previously expressed, we have an incredibly strong partnership from our PTA, and we are always looking for opportunities to supplement what we have for the core of what we do to also provide new and exciting opportunities for our students. So, for example, we just got a portable Gaga pit through the wonderful funding from the PTA so that our students, even in the weather like today, can use that outside of their normal area that they can access when the weather isn't quite as good. And then just continuing to reinforce what our goals are, our focus areas, making sure that we're finding exciting opportunities for our students. One of the things that kind of came to mind was our fifth grade team working with Amy Kneller, our instructional technology teacher, to look at broadcasting and podcasting opportunities to make the curriculum come alive, always refining and expanding on what we have. Our teachers are always engaged in strong professional development, and then our emphasis on social emotional learning so that we can make sure that our learners are well prepared for the school day.
Dr. Miller.
I should have asked this of Mr. Dentino also. It is very lean, very level service, with the exception of contracts, which we don't have a whole lot of control over. So if there were opportunities grant-wise and other external sources of where would you look for opportunities to enhance the base budget?
We're always looking for that. I think one of the particular thing, again, just thinking of things that are coming to mind, our teachers are always looking at, in addition to the core curriculum, what might they want to pilot? If they wanted to try something where we can't commit long-term to seeing whether or not that's going to be a recurring cost, but we do want to pilot, they find incredible ways to be creative. So one example was our art teacher wanted to provide students to do a felting project and ended up connecting with a local crafter in the community who donated an entire stock of wool, which in every color you could imagine, and completely free to us so that our students could try it and see if it was something that she wanted to integrate into the curriculum long term. So there's unbelievable creativity among the staff, but always looking for ways to see what is new, what is exciting, and what would connect with all students.
Great. Thank you.
I know your predecessor took the guidance to heart, as I can see with all the zeros, but inflation's a real thing. You're confident you can execute and do all this without? Okay.
Yeah.
The one, and I had a little sidebar with Michelle, but I'll ask it here, and it's across the board, not just at Forestdale, but the one, there's a significant increase with lease in the purchase of copy machines.
Really the lease, it's the usage. So we get charged like a cent per copy and like 1.4 cents if it's a color copy. And there's just so many copies being made in the district right now that the charges are just astronomical.
Okay.
And the paper usage is out of control too.
Is there anything we're doing to kind of?
Yeah, so part of the new copiers is also technology, and not only do these work as key fobs, they also activate the photocopiers, so we have records of everyone in usage by building and so on. So I think invariably there might be some conversations that may need to occur.
Okay. I mean, if the kids need it, but yeah, if there's...
It's like most things in life, it's got to be a balancing act.
Amen. Any other questions for Dr. Dunphy? All right. Off easy. Thank you very much.
And congratulations.
Welcome aboard. Well, not welcome aboard, but congratulations. Ms. Nelson.
Hi, everyone. So for the proposed operational budget for Sandwich Middle High School this year, I kind of itemized it, and you have it there. Like everyone before me, it's level funded. So we maintained, and we did not spend to spend. So, so this is just a little bit of a breakdown of where the increases were, and then the departmental decreases in total. That's from various departments, and you can see line by line where that, how that number gets to 8,000. But the big number there really is the science pathway and engineering resource increase of 14,000. So to launch our pathways, the biomedical pathway specifically, it's an expensive pursuit. The materials come from Project Lead the Way. The students love them. I'll start with that. We have 2 full classes of biomedical students. We have a total of 44 students. It's absolutely engaging, and it's relevant, and the kids are really, really loving it. That being said, to launch the pathways, there was a lot of grant money in the beginning. So what we need to do now is strategically budget in order to maintain, and we can't always depend that we'll be backed by that grant money. So that explains that number right there, hopefully. And then you have the totals down below. That's the line by line. So perhaps the other question could be the technology computer line there of a decrease, $6,000 decrease. So again, so if you think of us launching the computer science pathway, we did a great investment. We bought a lot of new technology, and now we're at the spot, right now we're at the spot of like buying protective cases for the equipment we bought last year. So the technology department also falls under the umbrella of the district technology, so it's kind of like supported in that way with technology software and things like that that's funded through the district. So that hopefully that explains that, and that there hasn't been any radical decrease of anything. We're very happy with the equipment that was purchased last year. Everyone's doing great. Computer science is off and running, and that decrease just is essentially appropriate and necessary. So overall, for Sandwich Middle High School, a $15,000 increase, primarily from the science and engineering resource increase of $14,000, which is 6% above last year. So our message, which hopefully has been heard loud and clear and has been greatly supported by the community, is an emphasis on really authentic learning experiences. And we're doing that through the pathways, both formal pathways and informal pathways that we're working to create through the applied arts, for example, through the municipalities, connecting students with J.J. Burke and the fire department to do internships if they're interested in fire and EMS services. So we're really kind of exploding and exploring not necessarily DESE described pathways, but real pathways that kids are interested in finding ways to connect them with resources for internships and connecting them with community partnerships. So that is the goal, and that's a daily goal, and it's very staff knows that, and it's a shared goal. We also, the curriculum updates resources, that's critical as well with everything that's so innovative. You do have to stay up to date, and you have to have the correct curriculum and the materials and the professional development that goes with that. So that's conferences and attending and being trained and certified and things like that. So that's an investment. And finally, the safe, optimal learning environments. And I think, Sue, if you asked me the question about what I would want, and I thought when I was sitting there, like absolutely physical space. So I went right to like the labs. So we're doing all this innovative pathways, and then the lab is from 1970, whatever. So the science lab. So we absolutely, if given carte blanche, I would 100% support updating the science laboratories for sure. And I think that is it for me. Do you have any questions?
Anyone? Pretty straightforward. Since you're here, and if Dr. Quinn needs to get dragged up too, maybe you could touch on it. You mentioned the pathways. Right after our last meeting in December, there was that Students Solve event at the high school. Maybe you could just share a little bit with the rest of the committee what that was all about, because that was, I just by happenstance unknowingly became a mentor for part of it. So it's not about, I'm not trying to draw any attention here, but it actually connected students with real companies to solve real problems.
Yeah, so with Mass 8, the Mass 1-8 and Mass Higher connected, schools participated all over the region. They were presented with a problem. So computer science students, engineering students in groups, and a real life problem. And I think it was about the Pan Am, wasn't it?
Pan Mass Challenge.
Pan Mass Challenge. And then they had the day to problem solve and come up with a proposal, and then present their proposal as a group to people, like real professionals in the industry, to give them feedback. And then they awarded prizes and on the best kind of solutions. But again, like finding a solution. Do you remember what the...
Yeah, and for the 8th grade, it was a pet insurance problem. What they found was that they would get people to the website, but there was no way to be able to track them to see who came and who was looking into it. It was an insurance company in the state. I'm drawing a blank on which one, but our 8th graders actually won first prize for their innovative solution to use AI to help give people information about pet insurance and to recruit them back. But they work with somebody who is either affiliated with the organization or an industry professional. This is the first of like a 3-arc process. First, the students solve, then there's the Industry Connects where they're going to do one of their projects and they will submit their work for feedback to an industry professional. And then lastly, we have the Student Showcase where they present to several, almost like a science fair structure, where industry professionals from across sectors will give them feedback. That's typically at the New Balance Arena, which is a really special place. And I also think, just to kind of piggyback off of the investment of the budget, we will have grant funding for Innovation Career Pathways, but one of the things we want to be strategic about is being able to invest in things that wouldn't ordinarily be possible with some of that grant fund. So you participated in that revised computer science room that has workstations that was paid for by grant funding. Things that we can shift to the budget that opens up opportunities for like a medical table where students can dissect a body for part of our biomed. That would be an eligible expense. So it's trying to be strategic, both in terms of the long-term putting into the budget. Yeah, well, that's the best feedback we have. Can we sign up? Like, that's what we want to provide for parents. If we hear parents saying, can I sign up for that? I wish we had that. That goes back to Mrs. Nelson's components about relevant, authentic, applied learning.
Well, thank you for that. I thought it was important because it was that applied learning like you talk about. I got asked by the PMC, knowing what this was about, to be a mentor to this group. And on a prep call a couple days prior, that's when I actually learned that Sandwich is involved in the same thing. Because I thought this was going to be online and ended up, well, I'll drive a half mile instead. So it was cool. It was a cool day for me to be involved, but it was actually really cool from my perspective sitting in this chair to seeing that stuff that you talk about in action, so thank you for it. All right.
Thank you.
Off easy.
Absolutely. Go for it. This guy might have an idea or two in his head.
Just a couple, huh?
Well, it's really an easy question because I'm going through the process right now. I've been very fortunate to have 2 projects going on. One is last spring, Mr. McNamara is, I work closely with him with some grant funding through special education we are creating right now, it's under the process of construction, is an amazing sensory room for every student to use, not just special education students, but every student in the building. So that should be done sometime, I would say just before February break. The bigger project that we've been working on for at least the last year is we've been able to get grant funding from the NRG power plant funding. And with the help of Dr. Maruszczak and Representative Dylan Fernandez, we were able to get funding. So we have a community garden that's being constructed right now that's probably just over $80,000. So we have 34 garden beds, large enough for every classroom to have their own garden bed. We have 2 frog ponds. We have learning spaces, and that's happening in the front of our building. So I'm really proud of that, and I can't, help but thank Dr. Maruszczak and all his support, and Mike Ryan from facilities, to be able to get this project going, and again, to be able to partner with the community when you're talking about community connections. Partnering with the community to keep this going year-round when the school is not in session.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Donovan. Yeah, where's your hype music?
I know.
Yeah, we should have some music for this. Like every time, it's like walk-up music. Yes.
And how many different merch sweatshirts do you have?
My wife for Christmas got me an organizer for the back of my car so I can just put like all my sweatshirts and jackets and things. Like that was literally one of the gifts that she gave me. So
I know you got another one yesterday.
I did. I had compliments of, yeah, it's a good one. That'll be worn. Good evening, everyone. How are you? So here is our proposed FY27 operational budget for athletics. So in kind of, for the most part, in trying to keep the theme of not spending too much for contest management, an increase of about 2.5%, mostly due to the fact that there's official increases for the most part each year. You could have an increase on, what the hockey officials are charging per game. When we have more teams, we need more officials at those games. So we tend to make sure that we're budgeting for at least the teams that we have for the current year, as well as we'd like to have that, if not more, for the following year. So for example, this year, for boys soccer, we had a varsity team in middle school, but sort of a quasi JV team. But next year we might have a JV team and a freshman team. So we have to keep into account that we typically try and field as many teams as we possibly can that can be competitive. And so a lot of that will have to do with officials. Game help a lot of times is by faculty members, and they're paid for keeping the scorebook and being at the games. And there was a slight increase in their rate of pay per game. I think it was maybe a little over $1.50 or so, or $2. So those usually get out to the faculty members, and I have them for, again, keeping a book at a basketball game or keeping the clock at a lacrosse game, things like that. So typically, if you see someone doing a clock, it's probably a faculty member at one of our games. So that accounts for that slight increase.
If I'll just comment on that quickly, I'm on injured reserve this season, but the sports official fees are essentially, it's not mandated, but the MIA publishes a rate schedule that is universally used by all schools.
Right.
I mean, every official is an independent contractor to the school, but pretty much every school uses the rates published by the MIA.
Correct, and we can see an increase in those when we have tournaments as well. Those fees tend to go up. So when we have teams making the tournament, again, more games, more officials, and the pay gets bumped up during those tournament games as well. So that's a factor. So transportation, I think we're going to be able to budget much less for transportation, being back in the Cape and Islands. Obviously, it can still be impacted by trips to the vineyard in Nantucket. So I put in there that it's impacted. It's going to impact the budget, and I'm prepping for a good amount of savings for those trips. I know some of you were able to maybe save on gas a little bit going to some of the games for this past year, for the fall and for the winter, and it definitely made the managing of getting to the games easier. There were times even where we maybe didn't have a bus and we could use our small bus and just still get our team to a game in time because it was on Cape, as opposed to having to go over the bridge and up Route 3. So we had instances like that. So even from an optics perspective, the change, I think, has been a good one. But again, like I said, the ongoing island travel can still have an impact for however many students we're sending over, coaches going over, and that varies year to year based on if we're hosting the vineyard in Nantucket one year, then the following year we would be going over there. So it can vary by year. And then we were able to just have, again, a slight increase in the fees and clinics. And under fees and clinics, the two that typically impact that rate of change are Family ID, which is the online platform that we use for registering for athletics and activities, and then Huddle, which is the streaming service. I just clipped a picture from our Huddle page. So that's for almost all of our sports that are in the gym or on Tacanto to live stream those games. And we have an increase typically of about $500 each year for Huddle and for Family ID. So that accounts for those changes. So small increases there for contest management in fees and clinics, but again, that's pretty much par for the course. A decrease in transportation, and then supplies we're going to be able to level set. Where I'm finding getting a little bit better at saying no to when things want to be ordered for, for myself or for coaches, of an extra ball or an extra net or something like that, and then really taking into inventory what we have. Because I know from coaching as well, you always like the nice stuff, and I don't disagree, but try to make do with what we have and try and have some savings there. Questions?
Do you have something else, or are you ready for questions?
No, I'm ready for questions.
Anyone?
I just had a basic question about the officials. Is it tough to get officials at this point? Do we see, like, for different sports? Do we see a drop-off? Are we seeing, like, a lack of interest? Or
So I think what we're seeing is we see a lot of repeat officials. So you end up seeing a lot of officials 3-4 times a year, which means, say in a 20-game season, that's 10 home games. Almost half could be with the same official, which if it's a good official is great.
Yeah.
If it's not such a great official and the coach and that official aren't seeing eye to eye.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
if you
Then
younger.
yeah, and
Rather, it seems like some of our officials are a little aging. No.
yeah, and I think it.
Not you, Kevin.
Yeah, no. Some. I think it speaks to. I think it speaks to a couple things. One is when our activities are occurring, and it's 3:35 and 6:30. So, I have nieces and nephews that are working full time or working from home and aren't on the same schedule that we are all on. That's one part of it. The other is it's tough. It's really tough. It's tough to be an official. It's tough to be a coach. It's tough to be a parent in the stands. It's tough to be a player. And it's really difficult to be an official. So I think with an increase in eyes on officials, videos, social media, everybody knowing or thinking they know everything, sometimes it's not worth the $109 to be out there on the court or on the ice and get bombarded with negative comments. So I think that plays a role.
Okay.
But yeah.
I can tell you, like I say, I've only done it for a few years, but and I'm not reffing this year, but I am usually the younger of the two officials.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is to recruit that next generation is a challenge. Sometimes it's, who can make it to that 3:30 game. But yeah, it's some sports are harder than others. I know girls lacrosse is specifically, there's challenges there.
Yep.
Thankfully, we're in Sandwich. Imagine what it's like to get somebody out on the Outer Cape or to the islands. It can be a real challenge because they have to get to the boat and things like that. But that's a national issue, actually.
It is. Okay. All right.
I will say one thing just to add to that. I know there's a program that was started, I think it was at Taunton High School a few years ago, where they're trying to teach high school students to be officials so that they can handle some of the middle school or sub-varsity games. So you could have a high school kid that isn't playing a winter sport, could go do a middle school game. So they can do it. There is an opportunity out there for them to do it.
And that works if those kids are protected against the folks in the stands.
Sure. Which, is you need an administrator there, and we can't be, we're not there for every game. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
On that issue, every event, every scholastic sporting event has what they call a game administrator. So there's somebody there that if there ever is that issue, that's who the official actually goes to. Basketball game, the refs aren't going to address the stands. They're not going to go to the coach. They're going to go whoever that game admin is to address the issue.
Mike McNeil's kind enough to be at the hockey game for me tonight, so he's covering for me there.
The one question: where is ice time accounted for here?
So ice time is under fees and clinics, I believe. Was under, so I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's under
Supplies?
athletic supplies.
Supplies.
I think it's your supply line.
Yeah.
I would ask this year, and I'm not sure what the rate is an hour. I don't understand. That's not a quiz question. I know we've gone over on that in the past. I would just ask that you keep an eye on that as we go through
Absolutely.
the season.
Yeah.
The other one that I will say, I think I said at a previous meeting after the mass conference, there's a line item there for salaries for a full-time athletic trainer. I think that is worth every penny and more. Athletics trainers are only by MA are only required for varsity hockey, wrestling, and football. Correct me if I missed one.
You're correct.
And not other sports. Was at a freshman basketball game yesterday. Kid hit the floor. We don't have the softest basketball court. Hit his head. Miss Spur was there to check him out. The kid, he was done for the day. All the right things that we want to see happen to protect our kid.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got an issue or not, but for that day he's done. And you do that assessment later. But we don't have that full-time trainer.
Yeah.
We don't get that kind of coverage that looks out for our kids.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that she'll know that kid the next day and the next day and the next day to keep an eye on him. So
Yep.
when we think about all these things, and it's kind of what you alluded to, of all those things that we provide our kids, that is invaluable.
Yeah, Kelly's invaluable in terms of what she does within the whole athletic department. She's, like you say, if I'm at something, she's at something, and sometimes I'm not at something and she's at it. She'll have to go to a JV hockey game, and she doesn't like to miss anything. So
She was bouncing between the pool where there was a swim meet, the basketball court, and the wrestling where we was practicing.
Yep.
Well, and I think the oversight on strength and conditioning is proactive and prevents injury. That's really so critical to these, particularly the boys that are still growing.
Yeah. And I have to say the baseline testing for concussion protocols.
Yeah, the impact testing.
To have that done and incorporated in our district, a few years ago, we ran into it like 4 or 5 years ago, about 4 years ago, with a concussion. And I brought my child to the doctor, and they were so impressed that we had this in place.
Yeah.
They were commenting that there are other districts in the area that don't do any of this. So just the fact that we have that on schedule, and Kelly is right on point.
He's right on it,
Mailing the kids when they're due.
Yep.
You're like, hey, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Beginning of each season is
Worth her
usually
weight in gold.
our office is filled with a couple of kids that are always, she's getting to do their impact testing.
Yeah.
They know the drill.
Wonderful.
I mean, she as an individual is awesome.
100%.
Exactly.
But having that full-time position is invaluable. So.
Yes, it would be near impossible, I think, with the amount of kids we have in sports. And she and I were just talking about it today with all of the places where, we host a swim meet. We're going to have, I think it's January 31st. We have wrestling, swim, 2 hockey games, and I think maybe something else. All in we have it all. So we end up hosting a lot of it.
Yeah. No.
A little off topic there, sorry. But,
Sorry, I know. She's wonderful.
Well, it's part of the budget. We'll stick with that. Any other questions for Mr. Donovan? Thank you, and go Knights.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, that was not too bad. Other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. You'll be happy to hear. Subcommittee reports. Finance.
Finance met on December 17th, and I will just say that the committee, with Dr. Merschek and Dr. Dave, covered all the strategic objectives, initiatives, incorporating all of that in the efficiencies. So I think what you heard today was fully vetted and anticipated by the committee in the presentations today and in the budget that we see to this point. And I will add one other point, that we were given a very, very preliminary budget at that meeting, and this budget that was presented tonight came in lower than that very initial budget. So I congratulate the superintendent and the leadership team on behalf of the Finance Committee for really digging in and taking to heart the big picture, right down to all those zeros in the increase lines. But that's why I was interested in knowing if there was something else When you have to make choices, you have to make choices. But it looks like there's a lot happening with creativity and other resources to grow our programs. So that's my report.
Policy.
Policy Subcommittee will be meeting next week, so we'll have more info for you at next week's meeting. We'll be going over the I folder, very riveting stuff, as well as the updated wellness policy. So we'll have more info for you then.
Thank you, Kaylee. Superintendent's eval. As I mentioned, we met in December, but it's almost, rather than me go over his goals, I'll let you present it.
Sure. I do have a PowerPoint. It's only 37 slides. Kidding. No.
Bring Bert back for it.
Back in the day, I really would do that. But, you've got the document in your packet. What I did at the meeting of December 2nd was just to kind of go through the different action steps for the overall 5 goals. So the student learning goal really kind of speaks to looking at the number of grade 1 and grade 2 students requiring tier 2 interventions based upon the UFLY implementation. I do think at the Forestdale School, a real credit to Chris and the staff, there's a lot of fidelity to the program. So we kind of look forward to seeing what happens with regard to intervention towards the conclusion of the school year. The second one is around improving the quality of feedback on professional practices. So really this kind of speaks to us moving to a slightly different educator evaluation rubric, one that incorporates culturally proficient practices, and then ongoing work with our district leadership team to kind of look at our practices of actually what we're writing in educator evaluations and kind of calibrating, fine-tuning what we're doing with regard to the feedback that we're giving teachers. So that's also ongoing. And then the 3 highlighted district improvement goals. One kind of speaks to the implementation of Parent Square. I do think that that is going very, very well. The feedback has been positive. I do think we need to go a little bit deeper with regard to the functionality of some of the tools and ensuring kind of more universal, consistent usage, kind of speaking of calling reports to see who users are, not just for photocopier use, but we can also do that for Parent Square, so that's something that we're going to be looking into. Then the piece around greater connections between schools and grade levels. We've had a lot of great efforts going on with regard to things like students from the high school coming down to Forestdale to be reading buddies, same thing with Oak Ridge to Forestdale. So seeing those increased connections, not only just in the area of athletics, I think we've done some great stuff recently with like the lacrosse team working, high school lacrosse student athletes working with Forestdale students and so on, but continuing and expanding that. And then last but not least, improving custodial and maintenance services. Myself and Michelle meet every single Monday morning at 9 a.m. with Michael Ryan, and we kind of go through the ongoing checklist. I do have to say we have a great partner in Michael in the sense that this guy, as you'll see a week from tonight when he gives his presentation, is super organized, super efficient, and has a strong personal and professional investment in our school district. So I would say a lot of those pieces are going very, very well. And I think it just comes down to ongoing monitoring of the day-to-day cleanliness and maintenance of the building. I mean, some of this, we talk about capital investments. Yes, some of it is a money issue, but some of it, quite frankly, is a human behavior issue. And it's about culture and climate and mindset in the job. So I do think we're making forward progress there, but we still have additional work to do.
Any questions on that? Obviously, it's in the folder. I encourage everyone to go through it. We are going to meet again in the spring, which will begin and then we go out and actually you'll get a document where you provide your feedback and we put together the summative evaluation. You mentioned the athletics. High school basketball teams are scheduled to go to Oak Ridge on Friday, so
Yeah.
it continues. So, any questions on that? Seeing none. Liaison Advisory Committee reports.
One.
Ms. Menenda.
Just an update from the Sandwich Middle High School PTSA. They raised about $7,000 with the last Best Craft Fair, and the funds are going to go to the Activities Fund to support student activities, and they're also going to be hosting a teacher and staff appreciation luncheon during midterm week. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Next up is warrants.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants as presented and signed tonight.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0. Next up is our second public forum of the evening. It's a smaller crowd than we started with, so I'll close the public forum. Future agenda items. You mentioned the bus schedule or the bus study.
Study, yep.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything?
And do we know when the Habib Associates facilities?
I would
evaluation?
anticipate it within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Acknowledgements, closing remarks. Ms. Goodwin.
I just wanted to say Alice in Wonderland was so great. These students are so incredibly talented. So hopefully people got out and saw it. Anthony, it was just terrific. Great job.
And there's going to be a spring performance too. Dear Evan Hansen, I think.
Oh, that's a great play.
So that's the word I'm hearing.
Okay.
That'll be fun. It was so tough. Alice in Wonderland, it was like right before Christmas. Yes. It was a tough weekend to get there.
I'll just echo what Tracy said. I attended the opening night. It was terrific. What was even more terrific was knowing how the students as a club took ownership after a bit of a curveball for them and really rose to the occasion. I was talking to somebody about how sports they're educational athletics and there's all these other things they learn. It's the same thing with clubs and activities, and I think they probably learned more going through that challenge than they actually did during
Yeah, right. Some more.
rehearsing for the play. But hey, that's awesome.
Some life skills thrown at them.
Anyone else?
I just had a quick appreciation for all the administrators here tonight putting together the budget. Michelle Austin, you're phenomenal all year long. And just sitting at the tri-board meeting a few weeks ago, it was evident just the relationship that you have with Bill Jennings, the town treasurer, that you do work collaboratively. And that is huge. That's why tonight was, it was painstakingly easy a little bit. Yeah. So thank you for everything and staying, you look at the news and you see some other districts that are not in such great shape or having turmoil and superintendents leaving, and we're grateful for all that you do. Thank you.
I was kind of thinking that too, because we build up that, here comes budget season, we're going to have a lot of chunks, and then it's like all pretty much uneventful because it's pretty sorted and we're
like drama-free.
We're in between the lines and everything else, and so I would echo our thanks for all the efforts there.
I'd like one last acknowledgement, and I want to acknowledge Lisa Kuchkowski. Tonight is Lisa's last night being our school committee clerk. Unfortunately, she's leaving us. She's had some changes in her life and now is living on the other side of the bridge, and she's moving on to a new professional adventure, but I want to just acknowledge Lisa's outstanding work and her commitment to our district over the last 3 years. So congratulations and good luck, and we will miss you, Lisa.
And I will personally thank you for keeping me in line and on schedule, because she's the one who sends out the agenda reminders to me to make sure I submit it on time and all that stuff. I see Sue nodding her head because she said the same thing. Well, everybody who chairs the subcommittee.
The same
Yeah.
thing. Yes.
So
Yes.
I'll just close with, again, we will miss you, but thank you for everything you've done for the students of Sandwich. I again want to thank the CPC for their support of the tennis project. I think that is a tremendous thing for our community, our schools, and our kids. I was at basketball game last night, and one of our Lady Night basketball players is also a tennis player, and she was looking a little downtrodden because she wasn't going to be on the court that night. I said, play the long game, rest up your injury because, well, not this spring, but you're going to have a new tennis court. And the eyes that lit up like it was Christmas morning. So that was pretty cool. And just lastly, I would thank the Michael Ryan, as we've already acknowledged earlier, and the facility staff. Over break, both gym surfaces at Forestdale and Oak Ridge were resurfaced. Before they were even back in school, the kids were in the gyms last weekend for Sandwich Youth basketball, and they walked into nice, shiny new floors. So, not new floors, but refinished floors. Well, there's a lot of wear and tear, not just by the kids in school, but also youth basketball. Sandwich Youth basketball does, part of their agreement with the committee, they support it, they fund it, but it still has to happen. So that was a belated Christmas present, so thank you to them. And with that, lastly, just a reminder, we meet next week. There's a placeholder for the 21st, depending on questions and things, if we need to wrap more stuff up budget-wise. The public hearing is on the 28th, right?
That is 100% correct.
I did that from memory, no less.
Oh, good.
All right, so just for your calendars. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting until next Wednesday, January 14th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Benenda, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. You'll see, Kristen, we try to make all the motions, the administrative ones, the same people, so you can cut and paste.
That's smart.